Call the meeting to order. Quiet, please. Please. Thank you. Thank you. Let's do the roll call, please. You're recording that for us. I'll turn it over to staff for announcements.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Items number 24 and 29 have been withdrawn. We do have for you on your desks in front of you a revised report for items 21, the revised attachment 21-3. This shows the correct bond amount. And these were emailed to you earlier. We also have attachment 28-1, the resolution for item 28 on your desk, excuse me, on your desks. And then finally, excuse me, I would like to welcome David Bailey as our newest Planning Commission member. David's a graduate of BGA and Clemson, and he volunteers his times with numerous organizations, has been honored by various organizations, and is familiar with all aspects of the development process. So we'll know you'll do well here on the Planning Commission. So welcome.
Thank you.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Okay, at this time we'll move into the public comment period, and we have 10 people signed up. It is 30 minutes max, so each person will have 3 minutes. I will give you a 2.5-minute warning, and so we will start. Please step to the front, state your name and county or town of residence, and then we'll go from there. So, Dr. Chris King.
My name is Wendell Christopher King. I own the property at 7925 Fernvale Road. Our family has owned that property since 1932. I'm here to speak about the Fernvale Rural Retreat. As you can see from the crowd that's here, people in Fernvale are very concerned. We're upset about this. I was chosen to do some of the work because I have a PhD in environmental engineering. I've been licensed as an engineer for 45 years. And so a lot of this makes sense to me in understanding the technical components of it. Bottom line up front, as all military people will tend to do, and hopefully I can get my military stuff right for a change, this is a really bad idea for Fernvale. Fernvale is the epitome of what we call the historic rural character of our community, of our whole county. And putting a major commercial enterprise into that environment is just the wrong idea for the county, certainly for all the residents. We have a petition of 173 people that have signed saying this is a really, really bad idea. I submitted a letter to the mayor because it takes some time to go over the technical aspects, and a 5-page letter covering the technical aspects that I broke down into traffic in and out of the place where we have rural roads coming in and going out, the issues of water, which constitute health problems, and the environmental damage that might be done from the activities that will be required to do what they have told us the rural retreat will be. It will have an event center of 300 people. It will have 10 major housing activities, and it will have other activities associated with it. That's a major change to what's going on in our little community right now. Hundreds of cars coming in on a daily basis when that thing is going at full activity. That's a risk to us. There is no way that those roads can handle that. From a water standpoint, one of our residents has already lost his water. It's called Fernvale Springs. It's called Springs for a reason. We have a lot of people that rely on spring water as their water source. And we've already had one person contaminated. We've run the analysis, and they were contaminated from surface water that's getting into the spring. Many other people around below where this is going in on the hilltops will be threatened. The South Harpeth River is one of the last clean pieces of water in the whole county. 30 seconds, please. Okay. It has to be protected, and the stormwater runoff and many other aspects will be damaged by that. And the biggest problem is this is one component of what's going to go on 700 acres. This covers about 200 acres. You cannot know what's going on until you put the whole thing together and look at it as one project, not just take it in little pieces. It violates our zoning standards, it requires excessive changes in the traffic, and it produces health issues for a lot of people. This is a really bad idea.
Thank you, sir. Second is Daisy Jabas.
I am Daisy Jabas. I live at 7935 Fernvale Road. Tonight I'm asking you to perform competent governance. The only way this can be exhibited is by voting to delay any forward movement on the STEP wastewater system. The reasons for this are many. I'm going to focus on three. Transparency, lack of transparency, zones and codes, adhering to them, and water. There has been total lack of transparency and actually deception on this proposed project. Mr. Spanton has refused to connect with neighbors. 2.5 weeks ago, an affiliate of his told me, reached out to talked to me and said he would be in touch with me in 7 to 10 days. I still haven't heard from him. He has told us that it's going to be a small farming thing. It is transparency in the community, and this will affect the community. Zones and codes, there are numerous intricacies where they are not being met. There are 433 pages in the Williamson County zone. Section 5 and Section 11 deserve attention. Water. I've been drinking water all my life, and I want to keep drinking it. This will be contaminated, as my neighbor said. One spring has already been contaminated. There are no public water available facilities in Fernvale. We all depend on springs and wells for our water, which is vital. We have a strong community. We're a historic community. We have Caney Fork Road, which has the pig iron fence from our history. Williamson County has preserved rural living. You know, we exemplify rural living.
30 seconds, please.
We've had potlucks for 14 years, second Tuesday of every month. You're all invited. I bet, you know, nobody but these people, nobody but us can make that statement. We please let us see competent governance. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Fred Harvey, please.
Hello, Fred Harvey, 7345 Forest Glen Road. I live up the hill behind said project. If I go down Cumberland, main thoroughfare into Fernvale, I have to pass this huge bridge that we've been watching go up for years. Literally, excess of one, maybe two, I don't know. And nobody knows, well, what are they going to do there? Well, I don't know. It's this, that. Nobody knew for forever, for a long, long time. I'm friends with the Tomlinson family who live directly below. There's this place between our place and one other property. I used to ride motorcycles on this. I'm familiar with the property. The well situation is already, the church down in Fernvale Community Church has already drilled 2 wells. They've got problems. I came My occupational history is 30 years in residential construction. I cut my teeth in Fieldstone Farms. Started one section in Franklin Green. I built in Laurelbrook. I've built all over the county, primarily here, and lived here 20 years or better. And the last 5 years of my occupation, I was in land development. I was land superintendent. I made sure that the infrastructure was installed, the roadways, that performance bonds were met. I had to get everything just right to get off the bonds. You know, I've been on the kind of the other side, and I know how much the developer has to do, and I can't. I mean, I'm in awe that we got to this place and have this much gone by without the county or the state really even understanding. And, you know, I mean, it's no big secret. The county's not easy to get stuff done for septic, for our health. And, I mean, I had to go to stormwater school. I know about retention and detention and all these other things. But I have literally seen the stakes for the step system and how it will feed right into the Tomlinson spring well, their cistern that collects the water.
30 seconds, please.
I don't think anybody's doing anything maliciously. I think it's been snuck around the corner, for sure. But sometimes everything that looks so good on paper, plan-wise, doesn't always work out. Mistakes can happen. And I've had to hold my head down with a councilman when I was over at Creekside, and when we were clearing and grubbing and we ended up with a lot of dirt on somebody's, the adjacent neighborhood's tennis courts. I know, you have to be good neighbors.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Next is Bud Carmen.
Good afternoon. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you. I'm called Bud, but I'm named William on my bar license, and I am a licensed attorney. I represent myself, so you can probably figure the old statement is true that I have a fool for a client. But also represent a couple of people on Caney Fork Road at 7544 and 7556 Caney Fork Road who are extremely concerned about the process and requested me to look into how things are working in the consideration of this development. And there are three things that are going to happen as came to me from very kind people who gave me some education on how it works. This body is hearing part of the issue. There's another body that is going to hear the issue of whether this is an appropriate development in an appropriate location. That's the Board of Zoning Appeals. The Highway Commission is also involved. I think if you were to go forward with the approval of any part of this permit application, that there's an inference to be drawn that this body is saying, well, okay, we're going to do our part and just pass it on off to somebody else. There's a threshold issue here that needs to be addressed very firmly, and that is this an appropriate development for this particular location? The entryway from Caney Fork Road is at issue. Caney Fork Road is designated as an exceptional heritage road by the Heritage Foundation of Franklin and Williamson County. Maybe the only road in the county so designated. I could not tell. There may be maybe two others that are designated as an exceptional heritage road, a road that two cars can barely pass, and in some places they can't even pass at all. Someone suggested, well, okay, this development is just going to be on one end of the road and it won't reach to the other end. Isn't that sort of like taking a hammer and hitting your big toe and say, don't worry about it, you got another one? This issue here before this body needs to be deferred until there is a public hearing completed as to whether this is an appropriate development at
30
an
seconds,
appropriate
please.
location. The answer to that question by many people in this room and up and down Caney Fork Road and Fernvale Road and all over the whole area in District 1 is no, absolutely no. This matter needs to be deferred until the public hearing is held before the Board of Zoning Appeals. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next is Kent Dunso.
That's Durso, D-U-R-S-O. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm Kent Durso. I live at 9038 Old Harding Pike, which is a Franklin address as far as the mailman is concerned, but it is a Davidson County location. So I am quite literally downstream from this development. I back up to the South Harpeth River, and we used to enjoy the good fishing and the animals and the wildlife that used to live on the South Harpeth, which fed into the Harpeth. The folks at the Harpeth Conservancy are going to find out about this, and they're going to want to know what effect the watershed impacts will have on the Harpeth, which is designated as one of the top 100 bass fishing rivers in the United States. They've asked me to at least look into this, and I will report to them. The other issue here is the issue of Metro. I'm a Metro resident. There are others here tonight who are Metro residents. I want to know what communication has been undertaken between Williamson County and Davidson County regarding so-called traffic studies, which I'm trying to find more about, and the watershed implications. Metro, my councilman has responded to me, and he's asked me for more information, so after this meeting, I will get on that. Also today, I opened a hub request, number 1581753, to ask Metro what they know about this and what they intend to comment on or get involved at some point. So I cannot report to you as yet because I have no response from them. So the other issue is Old Harding Road itself, which looks to me to be, as far as I can tell, the major artery in and out of the location on Caney Fork Road where this development is proposed. When I moved here 40 years ago, that was a nice little country lane. It's still not any bigger than it was. They did pave it once. Today, Old Harding Road is a cross between the Santa Monica Freeway and the Indianapolis 500. And people are getting tired of me flagging down cars and telling them to slow down and they'll run over my dog. This is a bad idea so far, as you've heard from these other folks, but Metro is going to want to know what's going on. The Metro residents of Fernvale are going to not want to see the traffic increase any more than it already is, and it's already off the charts. So
30 seconds, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you. That's the summation of my remarks. I would like, if anybody has any comment on the interaction with Metro as regards their planning commission and their traffic studies, I'd like to hear that at this point. Has anybody had any intercommunication?
I don't think we can comment on that at this point. So,
Okay. Thank you very much for your.
Thank you. Moving on to the next is William Tomlinson.
My name is William Tomlinson. I live on Caney Fork Road, 7336. I'm a next door neighbor of the developer there. My spring is the one that has been contaminated, and that was my concern of the deal. The whole deal was I'm proposing to move the step system because it's not even installed yet, and my spring is already gone. I have no drinking water. I have to buy it, and it just breaks my heart, So that's what I'm asking for. I understand property rights, and I'm a big advocate for that. But I feel like I should enjoy my property just like he does. And that's where I'm coming from today. And I just wanted to make that plain, and I wanted y'all to, to kind of maybe understand the best you can. So thank y'all for your time. That's all I have.
Thank you. Next is Wade McKinney.
Yes, my name is Wade McKinney, and I am a Williamson County resident on Fire Tower Road. And echoing what everyone has said, it just doesn't seem like a particularly good idea. And it seems like there has been a lack of notice and a lack of public input. But it is my understanding that TDEC has got to provide an operating permit before anything can go forward. And it's my understanding that they have not finished their work. They still have plans that have not been approved and other things that they are looking for from the applicant before they can sign off on it. So it just seems like before this body makes a determination, step one needs to be completed and final plans need to be submitted to TDEC, and they need to give final approval of the plans. And once that is done, it would seem appropriate for this body to then be able to move forward. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Next is Anthony Vincent.
Anthony Vincent. I live at 7935 Fernvale Road. I guess I'm kind of a newbie to Fernvale area. I married my wife who had been living there, and I've been there only for 24 years. But one of the things is that it's really such a nice place. It's quiet, it's peaceful, good neighbors. It really is a nice place. And we also are supplied by a spring. Everyone in Fernvale on that side of the river either has well water or spring water. And this project is just up the hill from all of us. It's right in front of my house. There's trees there now, but it's right there. And when, to my understanding, that Spanton only has permit for a house and a barn. And that's when he tells people when he bumps into people. He says, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'm building a house and a barn up there to help my son learn farming." Well, if anybody can Google Earth that address, he's doing a lot more than a house and a barn up there. He's got semi-trucks up there, buildings going up. I don't know how he can do that. He's doing it. I guess he's going to do it and just then say, "Well, I can't tear it down. How much do I have to pay to keep it there?" He has no respect for people around him. Like I said, we have an awful nice community with nice people, friends, children playing. We had this potluck that's been going on for 14 years, and it's just been a wonderful thing that we all are united together for at least one day a month and talking and kids playing with their friends. It's really a simple life. And we are all come from other lives, lawyers. I'm a computer programmer assistant, analyst. We aren't just out there just whittling wood and chewing tobacco out there. We know what's going on. And I would think you know what's going on. I mean, that's your job, isn't it? To know what's going on. I think if one of you go on up there and pay a visit to his site up there, you can see there's a lot going on. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Next is I believe it's PS Wall.
Hi, my name is Paula Wall. I live at 7555 Caney Fork Road. I've lived there for about 40 years. These are my neighbors. I'm concerned for them losing their spring water. I'm concerned about Williamson County losing their character. We see little by little the farmland disappearing, the woods disappearing. This particular project has a 10,000-gallon septic tank sewage plant. My degree was in environmental science. I worked for a Fortune 500 company in wastewater treatment, and I'm familiar with these packaged sewage plants. They make mistakes. They make errors. We have children drinking water that will be contaminated potentially by this sewage system. 300 people a day from wherever coming into our community. If you could just imagine keeping this county the way it was a little bit, preserving a little bit of what we live here for, the woods, the streams. I hope that you'll personally think about this and not just think about the revenue that this project is bringing in. Think about the roads, the traffic. Those of you in closer to Franklin already know what the traffic situation is. We used to be able to drive through Franklin in 15 minutes? Now it takes 30 minutes to get through to the interstate. Slow it down. Slow it down. Please. Please. Thank you.
Thank you. And last one is Miss Judy Herbert.
Hi, y'all. I'm Judy Herbert, and I'm a county commissioner for the 2nd District. I represent Bethesda and College Grove, and I'm here for a different one than everybody else, and my speech is going to be really short for y'all. I'm here on number 14, Vineyard Valley. All I'm asking is do not release the bonds on Vineyard Valley. There continues to be problems with drainage and erosion. And I know y'all are working on it, and hopefully it'll get taken care of, but do not release it for now, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that closes the public comment period. Thank you for coming out. Moving on to the next item, we'll consider the minutes from the previous meeting. Do I have any comments on those minutes as written? Do I have a motion about? Second. Have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say no. All right, motion passes. Yes.
David abstained.
David did.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Yep. Moving on to consideration of consent agenda. We do not read all of them anymore. And do we have any discussion on the consent agenda?
Chairman, I suggest that we remove item 14 per Commissioner Herbert's request.
Thank you. Any further comments? Do I have a motion that accounts for that?
I move to accept the consent agenda with the exception of item 14 BL7.
Thank you, sir. Yep. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the consent agenda say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Now we'll consider item 14. I believe that needs to be read or... Yep. Yeah, we'll have a staff report read, please.
It is mine.
It is.
Okay. Their recommendation, the whole thing. This is item 14. It is a performance bond. At the June 2023 meeting, this body granted approval to extend this bond in the current amount for a year. The recommendation is that staff visited the site and noted some improvements have been made. Staff recommends extending the bond in the current amount for a period of 1 year with a review in 3 months. So it's currently at performance, and the recommendation is to keep it at performance for 3 more months and then review it for to convert it to maintenance if it meets the the recommendations that we've made to the developer.
Sounds good. Thank you. I should have read it is item 14, Vineyard Valley, section 3, into the record. So thank you for that. Any other discussion on item 14? Do I have a motion? Motion. For approval? Do I have a second? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to item number 16, old business. Concept plan review for Kings Chapel Subdivision revised containing 449 lots on 615.28 acres located off Mullins Road in the 5th voting district. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So up on your screen, we have reviewed this. This will be our 3rd time, so I just went ahead and put it on the screen for you. So this is, as you're familiar with, the applicant is requesting to move the existing gate approximately 800 feet beyond where it will connect with Florin Drive that will connect into High Park Hill. So this was deferred at your May meeting. The revised concept plan was approved in September of 2003. Staff concluded that there should be only 2 connections between the developments, which would ensure that the developments are separate and distinct. We recommended a single gated entry, which we have here, and that was added as a condition of approval. So the applicant is requesting approval of a revised concept plan for the existing, to relocate the existing Kings Chapel gate, which we find is minor in nature. We do recommend approval of the revised concept plan, which you see here, moving the existing gate to the new location and with the same conditions outlined in the September 2023 report. We added that to your packet. That does include that there only be a single gated connection between High Park Hill and Kings Chapel, and it be restricted to emergency vehicles and utility service providers only.
Thank you, sir. Just note, we did hold the public hearing on this on April 11th, 2024. So, and you may have just said that, but I wanted to make sure I said it. Mr. Powell, would you like to speak?
Yes, sir. I brought some exhibits and made copies for everybody, so it might be easier. Mr. McCoy, should we talk about both 16 and 17 at the same time, since they're connected?
Sure. Yep.
I think that would save everybody a lot of time.
As long as we can talk about it one time.
All right.
Sir? Okay, I
okay?
believe everybody's got it.
The first page that you're looking at has a 78 at the top of it, and it's also here on a bigger view. It is, this exhibit was prepared to show the Planning Commission. We've heard some public comments in the past that the subdivisions need to be separated. I wanted to show the Planning Commission how much separation there is. There's a large floodplain between the subdivisions of Kings Chapel and High Park Hill. And there's Arrington Creek, which is not easily crossed. It's like a moat. The other thing we heard was that it would affect the property values of Kings Chapel if they were connected. This property was rezoned. We had turned in a site plan, and we missed it because the county rezoned everything. So these are much larger lots than Kings Chapel or High Park Hill, and we expect that it won't affect the comps negatively because the lots are valued more, and we already have builders wanting to buy the lots at an extremely high rate, higher than High Park Hill or Kings Chapel. So on this exhibit also, you'll see the Kings Chapel gate. That is not where the gate exists today. The gate today, I can show you on another picture, but for right now, it is farther south towards Highway 96. The gate going into High Park Hill, that's their east gate, would be, that's the crash gate. We wanted to move this gate so we could further separate the subdivisions, and anybody coming from these 78 lots at top would not be able to come into Kings Chapel. They would just simply go straight to Highway 96. You will also notice that there's no real reason to move the gate at the Kings Chapel, which I'm willing to do, to keep the subdivisions separate, if this is going to remain a crash gate. But if it remains a crash gate and the gate isn't moved, it'll be inside Kings Chapel, the crash gate. So one other thing I wanted to point out, you'll see a black loop road from Highway 96 up through the floodplain. Then it crosses where our wooden covered bridge is, and then it comes out the main entrance of Kings Chapel. That road was designed to service these lots that we're talking about, the 78 lots in High Park Hill. If you notice that road, there are no driveways on that road. It's meant as a boulevard, and when you look at all the driveways of all the lots, they are off that black road. We've heard about people saying that it's going to create a traffic jam if we allow those 78 lots to be in there. So the numbers on this exhibit, there's a green line on the right, and there's 275 lots below that green line. Primarily, those people use the main gate, whether they go towards Triune or Franklin. Above that, there's 170 lots. Those people, if they're going to Triune or Murfreesboro Road or Murfreesboro, they would probably come down through the main gate and go east towards Murfreesboro or Triune. So, but they could also go out this loop road to the second entrance, which is where the gates are. When you add up 170, 178, you have 148 lots versus the 275 that go out the main gate, and 170 go out the main gate. So I have lived there for several years now. I've been the one and only developer of it, and it's rare when I go out the main gate that there might be two cars in front of me at 7:30 in the morning. Usually, I don't have to wait at all to turn right or left coming out of the main gate. So the concept that this would increase traffic on that second entrance is not true. If we look at the second one, you'll see a picture. You see some dirt in an area. That is our new wastewater plant that we've just now completing. But that big tree on the road there is where the gate is now. Where the gate would go is to the far right, where we'd move the gates to the far right. You'll notice that there are no houses on this half-a-mile stretch from where we want the gates to Highway 96. There will never be any houses there because it's floodplain. If you look on the left-hand upper corner, you'll see Hyde Park Hill. Those are very small houses, very small lots, expensive houses, but small lots. We are going to take those 78 lots for a lifetime and go through these congested areas where children play, and it's not a good idea. I feel that the best way is to let them come down, hit this street with no houses, and go directly to Highway 96. We had a better photo of this. It showed all the houses on to Highway 96, but it wouldn't let us print it for tonight. Here's another exhibit. Get this right. When you look at the third page of your packet, you'll see an A. And you'll see that is the land that King's Chapel can annex into its HOA two different ways. It's in our HOA docs forever. It's every time we do a new one, it's restated. So, or new HOA docs. So that land in there is this exhibit here. It shows the Hyde Park Hill was always meant to be in King's Chapel. And that loop road, that boulevard, was designed to accommodate these 78 homes. We didn't have to build that road. We had other exits that would have been far less money, but as a developer, we felt this was the right thing to do. It would add value to everybody's lots. So that was a, and the fourth page is also shows where the 78 lots and the Hyde Park Hill fit into this. We're on that fourth page. It just doesn't make good nonsense to send those 78 lots through this congested residential area of Hyde Park Hill when we can hit that road and go down to Highway 96. There are six homeowner board members on the HOA at King's Chapel. We have decided to let Hyde Park Hill have an easement from their gate to Highway 96 as an HOA. In return, the 78 lots in Hyde Park Hill would pay 100% of the road repair and maintenance forever, and they will cut the grass alongside of those roads approximately 20 to 30 feet back. We have already planted a lot of trees in there, so beyond the trees where we're cutting today, that would, they would have to pay for that maintenance of the grass, cutting the grass, flowers by the gates, and road repair and maintenance. That's advantageous to the homeowners of King's Chapel because their HOA fees won't have to go up to maintain that road. So there's some other issues, but they're more legal. And we like everything about the staff's report except leaving that crash gate. It makes no sense. So with the crash gate alone, the gates at King's Chapel, I promise you, we have our gate company out there once every 2 weeks, if not every week, because of gates that don't operate properly, or a chip might break, or someone hits a gate, knocks it out of whack. They're out there constantly, and sometimes they just stop working. A lightning strike has hit the gate operators before. There's a lot of reasons, and one of my main concerns about a crash gate is the cost of it for it never to be used. But then if it is used by emergency vehicles, no one tests it on a normal basis. On our gates, we know when they don't work because we get emails and phone calls, the gate's not working. So if that gate goes out of commission, there's no way to monitor it. So it'd be extra costs for that HOA, but they wouldn't have any benefit for it. So my request is that if you're going to vote tonight on this, is to release that from being a crash gate. That's all we're asking. So, John, is there anything you wanted to say? John's the developer of High Park Hill, and that's that. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll open up for discussion among the group.
Board, we never got that over here. Oh, is it? It's just the fourth page? Okay.
It's the land that could be, even today.
Okay, thank you.
Put into King's Chapel through the HOAs.
Got it.
Not the subdivision of the HOA.
Yes, sir.
If I remember right, from back in September of last year, when we decided on this crash gate, there was a reason for that. And if I remember, it had something to do with the build out of one versus the other, or would you refresh us on that?
So the subdivision regulations require that when a subdivision has been built out to 2/3 of the original approval of the concept plan, it cannot be expanded. And so King's Chapel has met that requirement and cannot be expanded. And so that's why we are recommending the crash gate to remain, so that the two subdivisions are in fact two distinct subdivisions.
My other question is, if you move the King's Chapel gates north above the crash gates, and who is in charge of the crash gates as far as monitoring or policing them or deciding they get left open for construction traffic, or who, do we have any recourse if it is used unlawfully?
I would believe that that would become a zoning violation, and we would send out our codes enforcement officer to look at it, cite the developer for violation of the approval if it's granted.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Anything from staff? Anything further?
No,
I
Mr.
have
Chairman.
one further comment.
Okay.
Going through High Park Hill, through those congested lots, those 78 cars, no matter which way they choose, they're passing about 50 lots, where if they hit this road that they will pay for and maintain and cut the grass, they have to pass no lots, no residential lots, going to Highway 96. So from a safety point, it just makes sense to let this happen.
Yes, sir.
Question, just for refreshing my memory about the history. Wasn't there discussion and the reasoning for making it a crash gate was the free flow of traffic? Sorry. Wasn't the reason for the history and making it a crash gate initially was because of the potential free flow of traffic between the two developments and use of amenities and discussions about those things?
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to recall, because it's been several months, and also David.
Yeah, at that
David
time,
didn't hear those discussions.
Yeah, at that time, the King's Chapel gate was in the move forward, and
Sure.
yes, if that crash gate was compromised, there would be free flow of traffic between the two.
Yeah.
And since that time, the offer is to move the King's Chapel gate back, providing a secondary separation between the two subdivisions, yes. Does that kind of give us our history of where we are?
Yeah.
Right. And any other comments or discussions?
Because I'm fresh, I guess, to help me understand. So by moving this gate, King's Chapel will have its own coded access through that road. High Park Hill will have its own carded access through that, so neither subdivision can access the other, but
That's
they can
correct.
both exit out of the same.
Oh, that's a good question, or that's a good comment, because the western gate of High Park Hill, those people that were saying don't want to go through 50 houses to get to Highway 96, they will not be able to come over into the other High Park Hill or King's Chapel either. So they are completely separated by gates.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, to answer Mr. Bailey's question. I think Mr. Powell said that you couldn't enter one through the other, but under this proposal, you can enter the 7 to 8 lots which are in High Park Hill from King's Chapel. So I just wanted to clarify that point.
Through the road that we're talking about, it's about a half a mile stretch.
Yeah, but the point is that you would be able to enter High Park Hill through King's Chapel. Okay.
Through a coded gate or?
Under what Mr. Powell is requesting.
Yeah.
And again, the reason that staff has taken the position that we have is that King's Chapel is not allowed to expand. They're at their maximum, okay? So these 7 to 8 lots would have to be in High Park Hill. And if they're accessed through King's Chapel, then it's tantamount to an expansion of King's Chapel. So that was the reason for staff's position.
So isn't it correct that staff's recommendation of approval is you can move the gate, but we're still sticking with the connection is restricted to emergency vehicles and utility service providers only?
That is correct, yes, ma'am.
Yes. So if we were to proceed with what staff's recommendation is, it would not allow the High Park Hill 78 lot people to go down Majestic Meadows Drive.
That is correct, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Do I have a motion on item number 16?
I move to accept staff's recommendation.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Second. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. You did. We did have one now. Okay, thank you. Motion passes. Moving on to item number 17, concept plan review for High Park Hill subdivision revised containing 235 lots on 356 acres located off Murfreesboro Road in the 5th voting district. I'll note the public hearing was held on April 11th, 2024. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I've got the plan up here as well as the previous PowerPoint. As we just discussed, the applicant does want to have the proposed vehicular gate between High Park Hill and King's Chapel, which on the previous version, previous item, you indicated that it would be a crash-only vehicle and for utility providers and emergency access. There's also a second gate that's in approximately the middle of Florin Drive between sections 3 and the future sections, the 78 lots Mr. Powell was discussing. Also, the requirement for the 2 entry gates at High Park Hill, at Highway 96 would be removed from the application. I'm going to flip to the next screen. Staff does recommend approval of the revised concept plan with the following conditions: allowing the removal of the entry gates at the development's main entrances, the installation of an entry gate on Florin Drive between Section 3 and the future sections of the development, and the same conditions outlined in the September 14th, 2023 approval, which includes the same condition of the gate between High Park Hill and King's Chapel be limited to access by emergency vehicles and utility service providers only. Additionally, the HOA documents be revised as necessary to reflect the removal of the entry gates into the development and submitted with the next final plat.
Thank you. Do we have any discussion on item number 17? Do we have a motion on item 17?
I just want to confirm, Chairman, that staff's recommendation does keep the 2 developments separate and only allows that connection by emergency vehicles.
That is correct, yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Move we accept staff's recommendation.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second on item 17. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? No. We have 1 no. Motion passes. Moving on to item 18, preliminary plat review for OHM Farms large lot easement subdivision to create 5 lots off the easement containing 1 lot on 22.31 acres located off Old Hillsborough Road in the 9th voting district. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the OHM Farms subdivision. It is located off Old Hillsborough Road, as you can see in red. It is going to be a large lot easement subdivision. And the intent is to create 1 lot off as you can see down there, it is 22.31 acres. It is 1 lot, and it is being reviewed by the planning commission because it is the 5th off the easement. It is a 50-foot ingress-egress utilities easement, as you can see in green. Natural resource protection standards have been met. The building envelopes have 200-foot separation. Water will be provided by the HB and TS utility district. And staff recommends approval. Wastewater will be handled via on-site septic, and staff recommends approval with standard conditions as outlined in the staff report.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or discussion on item number 18? Thank you. We have a motion. We have a second. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. I need to recuse myself from item 19, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Crohan.
Willie Farms, Phase 1 containing 18 lots on 128.96 acres located off of Del Rio Pike in the 9th voting district. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. This is Wiley Farms, Phase 1. It's located off Del Rio Pike, as you can see in the red. The entire development is shown in gray, and the phase we are talking about specifically is shown in pink. This item was deferred for the May 2024 meeting, and Phase 1 is going to be approximately 129 acres in size and contains 16 lots. The development, or this phase of it, contains approximately 84 acres of open space. This phase also contains the wastewater system and its components. Streets will be private and gated. The plat is consistent with the concept plan approved in February 2024, and staff recommends approval with the standard conditions outlined in the staff report, including submission of HOA documents addressing requirements of Section 1711, gated subdivisions, and Section 1712, private streets of the zoning ordinance.
Thank you. Is the applicant present?
Yes.
Would you come forward, please?
Good evening. My name is Richard Speckman. I'm an engineer with this project, Trevor Cross. The owner-developer couldn't be here tonight for a previous commitment.
Do you have any questions of staff's report?
I do not.
Anything to add?
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. I said we've been in communication with staff, and we have no objections to their recommendations.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to the commission now. Are there any questions on this item?
Motion to approve.
Motion made and approved. All in favor signify by saying aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We'll turn it back over to the chairman.
Okay, moving on to item number 20, preliminary plat review for High Park Hill Phase 5 containing 47 lots on 59.86 acres located off Murfreesboro Road in the 5th voting district. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, the applicant is requesting deferral to the July 2024 meeting.
Thank you. Do I have a motion? Second? I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, motion passes. Non-residential site plans, item number 21, site plan review for College Grove Athletic Facility, non-traditional wastewater system on 116.85 acres, located off Horton Highway in the 5th voting district. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the property that's located on Horton Highway. It's approximately 116 acres in size. This will serve an athletic facility that is proposed for the property. I do want to point out, well, I think my battery died. Oh, there it goes. So the athletic facility that this will serve does require approval by the Board of Zoning Appeals for a special use permit. The CCN for the property has been issued, and I did skip over. On the screen, you will see the storage pond, the primary and secondary disposal areas, and the treatment system for the project. It is located to the rear of the property and is bordered by the CSX railroads. The draft SOP, state operating permit, has been issued. The DDR and the DSIR have been reviewed and approved by the county's wastewater consultant. All ordinance standards have been met. And approval, I do want to note that approval of this site plan for the non-traditional wastewater treatment and disposal system would have no bearing on whether or not the special use permit will be granted by the Board of Zoning Appeals. So I do want to point that out to you. And then finally, staff does recommend approval of this site plan with the standard conditions outlined in the staff report, including the posting of a performance bond for the treatment and disposal system.
Thank you. So for clarification, once it goes to Board of Zoning Appeals, it will come back to the overall preliminary plat will come back, or will it be concept plan?
This will be a minor site plan reviewed by the staff. Okay. So the Board of Zoning Appeals will review the special use permit, considering whether or not the use is appropriate in the zoning district, in the location.
And if it is, it will not come back to this body, right?
That is correct. Okay. The zoning ordinance permits the staff to review and approve the site plan.
Thank you. Do we have any further discussion on item 21? Well, hang tight.
I have a question about, I mean, this appears to be a pretty intense use.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm curious about when traffic will be analyzed.
So that is being analyzed during the special use permit process. So at the moment, it's being reviewed. This is anticipated to go to the Board of Zoning Appeals at their June 27th meeting. So, but that is under review now.
Okay. And what's the threshold, if you could remind us, that makes us a staff review?
So the zoning ordinance outlines in Article 6 that when any use is approved by the Board of Zoning Appeals as a special use, staff can review and approve the site plan.
So it doesn't, just because it goes through that process, that automatically means it's staff review, doesn't matter what the size is or intensity or anything?
That is correct, yes, ma'am.
Interesting, okay.
Any other questions on item number 21?
I have one more question, sorry.
Yes.
Would it negatively impact the approval process if we were to defer until after the zoning, Board of Zoning Appeals?
So whenever a special use goes to the Board of Zoning Appeals, the Board of Zoning Appeals wants to be assured that there is wastewater management available to the use being presented to them.
Thank you. Any other questions? Do I have a motion? Mr. Crowan, you good with your motion?
Yes.
Do I have a second? Second. We have a motion and a second on item 21. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to item 22, site plan review for Troubadour Golf and Field Club Sport Court Amenity Center on 15 acres located off Cox Road in the 5th Voting District. Staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is located on 15 acres in open space within the Troubadour development. They're adding tennis courts, pickleball courts, paddleball courts, and a shared tennis and pickleball court. There you see the location of each court. The amenity centers embedded within the residential neighborhoods and located within open space are classified as private recreational centers and are for the exclusive use of the residents of the subdivision. And staff recommends approval with the standard conditions outlined in the staff report, including the submission of revised HOA documents and the posting of performance bonds for the collection system and landscaping.
Good deal. Thank you. Any questions about this item? Do I have a motion on item 22? Do I have a second? Second. I have a motion and a second on item 22. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to item 23, site plan review for Fernvale Springs non-traditional wastewater treatment and disposal system on 223.08 acres located off Caney Fork Road in the 1st Voting District. Staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the property that is located on Caney Fork Road. It's approximately 223 acres in size. This will serve a rural retreat extensive use that is proposed for the property, and the system can only be used for that rural retreat extensive use. This is the treatment system here that's roughly in the center of the property. This is the storage pond required, and this is the primary disposal area, as well as the backup soils area that you see on your screen. I do want to point out that this rural retreat extensive use does require special use approval by the Board of Zoning Appeals, and at this time an application for that use has not been made. The CCN has been issued by the Tennessee Public Utilities Commission. The Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation has issued the draft state operating permit. The DDR and the DSIR have been reviewed and approved by the county's wastewater consultant. The ordinance standards have been met. And I do again want to point out to you that the approval of this site plan for this wastewater system would have no bearing on whether or not the special use permit will be granted by the Board of Zoning Appeals. So like the previous one, the use itself will have to go to the Board of Zoning Appeals. And finally, staff does recommend approval of the conditions for the non-traditional wastewater system as outlined in your staff report, including the posting of the performance bond for the treatment and disposal system.
Thank you. Do I have any questions at this point?
Here, and could they tell us more about the future intent?
State your name if you don't mind, please.
Yes, sir. My name's William Craig. I'm one of the several engineers working on this project. We've been working just with Williamson County, I think since January of 2023 is when my company started working on this project and started meeting with Williamson County representatives. I've gone through a long process. I kind of had a lot to say, but a lot has been said. To answer your question specifically, and that's what I want to do most, is answer questions that you may have. The future use of this project is for a rural retreat for the owner, Mr. Spanton, who's here and is happy to answer questions if he needs to. The use is to provide a retreat for his friends and family. It's not, the plan has never been for a large and extensive commercial venture, as was mentioned before. The max occupancy we've listed for the site is 299. That's a number that's in the code. The wastewater treatment facility is designed at 10,000 gallons. However, the 10,000 gallons per day, the system and the permit documents point out that of that 299 people, in the average daily use will be closer to 30 to 60 people, about 15% of what the maximum designed occupancy is. In our first meeting with Williamson County, we were told that every potential drop of water for this project must be taken care of, and we have worked hard to make sure that our design covers those requirements. We've had an engineer look at the soils as required. We've gone through the TDEC process as is required. We've gone through the Williamson County process as required. To my knowledge, we've met all the requirements that were made for this project by Williamson County's code. As of right now, we're just trying to move forward. Like I said, we've been working on this for 18 months at this point with Williamson County, and just happy to answer any questions that you may have. I have with me the owner, I have with me a construction representative, and I have the specific wastewater engineers as well.
Thank you. Just to confirm, so are you saying this is not commercial use?
No, I'm not saying it's non-commercial use. The use, however, is, I'm trying not to over-reply. The goal is not to have 300 people a day there, and the goal is...
Please keep the comments or I'll clear the room. Thank you.
The goal is not to have 10,000 gallons per day. Again, our permit documents clearly point out, and what we've written and submitted, and to my knowledge, what is recommended for approval by staff is 30 to 60 people per day on average. Just some numbers. If the use is occupied at 15%, which is what's written down in the permit documents, on an average day. Now, there will be peaks, but on an average day, that's 7 gallons per day per acre. The site is 223 acres. We're also proposing 63,000 square feet of new building development. 63,000 sounds like a lot, but 63,000 new square feet of building is the same, over 223 acres, is the same as a 2,500 square foot house on an 8-acre parcel. This isn't a dense development.
Thank you. Any further questions?
Do we have any information on the impact of the well water and the groundwater that was reported earlier? I mean,
So,
do we know that what's going on this site is what's causing the eruption of water surface and
yeah, maybe,
I mean, that almost is as important as some of the discussions about use in my mind.
what activity is taking place today? Is that farming practice? Is it clearing land?
On the current property that we're speaking about right now, to my knowledge, there is no activity.
Okay.
There is an existing residential house that I don't believe is occupied. Yeah, it's not occupied, and the scope of this project is to tear that down. There's no land disturbance on this property. I mean, I've been up there in a four-wheeler. I think some of staff has been there as well. And to my knowledge, there's no existing work, and there hasn't been any major work done. If there have been changes in local water system, it has nothing to do with this lot.
That was my question.
Yes, sir.
Has there been a traffic study done on this yet, or where are y'all getting your water from?
Is there a traffic study required?
There will be a traffic study required when this is presented to the Board of Zoning Appeals, and that traffic study is currently under review by the county's traffic consultant.
Thank you.
My other question was, where's the water to furnish this coming from?
Yep. Where will you get your drinking water from?
Wells on the property, which the review of that process was part of the state review and the county's review, although there are more steps to be made for that process.
Thank you.
I'm Tim Turner, T-Square Engineering. I mean, part of our requirement with TDEC, we had to show water wells. We had to show water wells within a 1,500-foot radius of our treatment. There are no water wells. Mr. Tomlinson, I think our site, our treatment is up on top of the hill. It goes in a valley, up on top of the hill, and back down to where his water well is located. So we're far within the requirements of any setback from any water well. I think the county's is 300 feet. TDEC makes us show 1,500 feet. We have no water wells.
Thank you.
Our drain goes down into a pond within their property. The soil maps, we had 2 soil scientists, 2 at the top in the county. There was no water table in any of the pedons. So we're far from any water table as far as anything contaminating anything.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Did you submit those to the county?
Yes.
Have they seen those
Yes.
reports? Were those included in the
We
packet?
submitted the DSIR and the DDR, which is required by the county. We've submitted the SOP to the state. The state has already given us an approval letter. So we've done all the requirements. This zoning allows a decentralized, and we've met all the requirements. We've met all setbacks.
Any other questions?
I was curious, the staff's review and reasoning or understanding of the groundwater impacts that Tim was just mentioning.
Our wastewater consultant, the county's wastewater consultant, has reviewed that and has approved it.
The county's wastewater consultant doesn't inspect or review wells. The county is only looking in the DDR to make sure that if there are wells, that it's set back from the proposed system as required. If they're proposing additional wells on the site or anything like that for their water supply, that's not in our jurisdiction. We haven't looked at that. We will not review that. And presumably, they're not going to be within the setbacks that are proposed for the system. But there's been a couple of statements made that the county's looked at the wells, we don't look at wells, okay? So I just want to make sure that's clear. The state has to look at that. Our consultant is just making sure that if there are wells on the property or adjacent properties, that it's set back in accordance with our required setbacks in the zoning ordinance.
And we're here tonight for the decentralized site plan.
Yes,
We
sir.
will handle any traffic, all that stuff will be handled and approved at BZA. If we don't meet those requirements of BZA, we don't get approved. This is for the site plan for decentralized, and we've met all those requirements.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions?
Yeah, I've got a clarification. I think you mentioned earlier there'd be this is non-commercial application?
No, sir. I didn't intend to say that. If I did say that, I was wrong. It is not, earlier it was mentioned that this would be an extensive commercial project, and I would not call this project an extensive commercial project. Again, it's 223 acres with a max occupancy of 299 people. It is a commercial project, but I would not call this an extensive, high-demand commercial venture in Fernvale, Tennessee.
I mean, it's either commercial or not.
Yes, sir. And
So he's confirming it is commercial. It's just, his intent is it is max 299 occupants.
Right.
You've indicated that you anticipate much less than that, but that's not under our control or our purview. And again, we're looking at the sewer system, and BZA will address the rest of that.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
I said all that will be taken care of at BZA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I just need to make one comment. Okay. This is the first I've heard about this. The reason for the occupancy of 299 people is because 300 or more requires to go to State Fire Marshal's office. Anything over 100 people, occupancy of a building requires sprinkler systems. So I wonder if those wells are going to be able to provide a sprinkler system. You see what I'm saying, when they build this thing?
Yep, and that is not, unfortunately, under consideration tonight. I understand.
Okay, well, I'll get to that.
BZA will definitely, will work on that, but that is not.
Okay, I just wanted to make that clear to y'all.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Any other questions? No, you may not. I'm sorry. Thank you. Do you have any other questions from planning commissioners?
I would just like to say that I appreciate all the comments from the community and that they were very well spoken and provided a lot of good information. I mean, I have concerns about the well and the groundwater comments that were made. And it seems like if we approve this right now, we're not really getting the answers we need on that. So I'd like to request or move for deferral so that we could get more information, understand impacts on adjacent wells and groundwater, since that seems to be an issue raised quite a bit by the community.
So you're making that motion?
Yes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second for deferral of item number 23. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Please raise your hand. All those opposed, raise your hand. That would be 4 and 4.
Then the motion fails.
Motion fails. So we're back on for the original.
I didn't have time to ask the question if I could ask. I was curious, what information were you asking for? I didn't approve it just because I
More
wasn't real clear.
information
Sorry,
related
Chairman.
to, like, the concerns that the residents are stating about their wells and their groundwater in their wells and springs.
Mr. Chairman,
I thought I
comment
just,
on that?
I thought I just answered that. I mean, there isn't a well within 1,500 feet of this. And there's not a well that from our treatment facility is up on top of a hill, and it goes down the valley, back up a hill, and back down a valley to get to anybody that's adjacent to us. So, and I've already said, the soil map does not show any groundwater in any of the PDONs. I mean, we've had TDEX approved what we submitted them. The county has looked at the DDR. I mean, I don't know what else we can give as far as water wells. I mean, there aren't any that are within our area that we've got to be concerned with.
We can't take comments. I'm sorry. Thank you.
My concern is that the questions from the neighbors have not been answered. It sounds like they've made attempts to get information. They've been unsuccessful, and so I'm just proposing a deferral so that the neighbors can get more information. And if all of that is true that you're stating, then that would be great. Bring more documents, show more information at our next meeting to help the neighbors feel confident in the approval that we're moving forward.
And that would be at the BZA. And at this point, we have, the motion for deferral has not passed. Yes, sir, Mr. Richter.
The engineer stated that there's no activity and that staff has been there to confirm there's no activity. Is that true? I'm assuming he's not gonna, but staff has been on site to confirm that there's not activity on site, because if there's no activity, as stated, the contamination and the disruption of the well that was discussed would be there's some other cause other than activity on the site, which is not a reason to defer then.
Correct.
I mean,
Because we're not hearing that, right? And it seems like we're getting the indication there is activity on the site from the people who live out there who came out here to talk to us.
I'm not sure how we answer their questions when we have shown that there aren't any wells within 1,500 feet of our treatment.
All right, this is my last warning. If we have anything else, I'm gonna clear the room, okay? I'm sorry, we're trying to conduct our meeting. I appreciate everybody's time and effort. Thank you.
Could I ask a question? The wells that are being proposed on the site, are those also 1,500 feet or more from?
Well, the 1,500 feet is what's required in our submittal on our SOP and the DDR. They make us show a 1,500-foot radius around where our treatment is. And we pull the state records to find all the wells in that area.
All right, so it doesn't include, does it include the ones they're wanting to drill for this?
When you drill a water well, you don't immediately know when you start drilling it if water's going to come up. So water wells, there will be test wells, but none of the test wells for this project and eventually producing wells will be within the 1,500-foot restriction zone around the wastewater treatment facility.
And do they consider springs to be the same as wells?
I don't know the answer to that.
I'm not sure that we're within any springs within that area. Now, the 300-foot requirement of the county, all we got to do is, for TDEC's purposes, on our SOP, our DDR is show that 1,500-foot for water wells. But we're within any setback the county requires for any springs.
Okay.
I mean, the effluent that comes out of this treatment, they irrigate golf courses with it. I mean, they do. Pine Creek Golf Course was irrigated with this. I mean, they say you can drink it, but I'm not going to drink it. But I mean, it's clean water. I mean, we've approved these systems throughout the county. We're going to meet all the requirements. I mean, we do meet all the requirements. I mean, I don't know what else I can say. I mean, it meets the requirements that TDEC and the county has put upon us. As far as a water well that's off the property, over hill, over dale, the water, it doesn't even go that direction. I don't know how I can appease that.
So before us we have is the non-traditional wastewater treatment. This plan, now correct me if I'm wrong, Aaron, you said earlier that you've not seen the site plan for this, or it's in process and it's not on the Board of Zoning Appeals next month?
That is correct, it is not. We have not received an application for the rural retreat extensive use, and we have not reviewed, inside your packet was a outline for this. It was for illustrative purposes only. We have not reviewed it for compliance to any of the regulations.
Thank you.
So I have a question for staff. Then, based on that, it sounds like deferring 1 month would not delay their review by the Board of Zoning Appeals because they haven't submitted an application yet.
Can we even submit an application until we get approval here?
You can submit an application to the BZA, but the BZA would probably deny it.
That's right.
I'm not sure.
We have to get this approval first.
So to answer your question, Commissioner, I don't think it would harm them to wait a month. We've still not received the traffic study back yet. So, and if I'm not mistaken, we have passed the deadline for the required pre-application meeting for the July meeting. So there are several things that would have to line up. I don't think a month deferral would be detrimental.
Is it correct that we're not allowed to schedule the pre-app meeting for the BZA until we are on the agenda for the Planning Commission?
Well, you can schedule the pre-app meeting, we just won't accept the application to the BZA without the wastewater approval by the Planning Commission.
Okay. So pushing this back a month would push our potential application back a month.
That is potentially correct. Yes, it's correct.
Yes, sir.
Pertaining to the disrupted well that was reported, if there's an underwater source that feeds from the property, and if there is unpermitted activity on site that disrupted that well, it's really a separate issue from the submittal that's in front of us. So as a condition, can we make confirmation that there's not activity on site and nothing has happened to the surrounding wells, that it's not associated to the application? Because like I said, it's
Are you asking, can you make it a condition of approval?
I mean, that or what
I
can
mean,
be
you
done to
can
confirm.
give staff, you can ask staff to report back next month. I mean, the staff that does those inspections aren't here. But I don't know that you can condition the wastewater site plan
Makes sense.
approval
I guess
based on whether or not there's been land disturbance.
I would like to request that update then, because like I said, it's not really pertinent to their application, but if there's something going on out there that's disrupting springs and surrounding properties, then we should know about that.
Thank you. So would you like to make a motion?
I mean,
It's
not
a deferral.
associated with,
Well, you can defer any application 1 month.
We just need a reason for deferral.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not suggesting you do, I'm just saying
understood.
procedurally.
Mr. Proham.
On this, and this would be, I guess, for engineering, when TDEC looks at this, looks at the well situation, the water situation, is it taken in effect that some people get their water directly out of the spring rather than a well?
I do not know the answer to that. I don't know if they regulate springs. If a spring is not considered a well, I don't know if they have any requirements about the testing the water or the quality of the water or who is consuming the water. I don't know.
Thank you.
Somebody else had a question?
Deferral and request that staff visit the site and give us an update next month on the concerns about land disturbance, and that we get additional information from staff on any impacts to wells or springs that are in existing use that may be impacted by this wastewater treatment facility, especially considering this is the only time the Planning Commission will have an opportunity to review this.
Thank you. Do I have a second? We have a motion and a second for deferral. All those in favor, raise your right hand, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All those opposed? 1, 2. We have a motion passes for deferral until next month.
Sammy, can I ask you a question? So what do we need to bring back to you the next time from this deferral?
Work with staff to address the concerns that were brought up in the motion, and motion for deferral of confirming land disturbance, and we'll confirm wells, and we'll confirm the springs as well, and just to ensure that things are in compliance and headed in the right direction.
Okay.
Thank you. Moving on to preliminary plats, item number 24 was withdrawn. Moving on to item 25, preliminary plat review for Bailey's Cove, large lot easement subdivision containing 5 lots on 49.74 acres, located off Columbia Pike in the 11th voting district. I'll give just a minute for the room to clear, and we'll let staff have it. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This property is located on Columbia Pike. It is approximately 50 acres. It is going to be a large lot easement subdivision to create 5 lots. You can see the easement in green. The building of, it's a 50-foot ingress-egress utility easement. And building envelopes have a 200-foot separation. Natural resource protection standards have been met. Water will be provided by the HB and TS utility district. Wastewater will be handled via on-site septic, and staff recommends approval with standard conditions as outlined in the staff report.
Thank you. Do we have any discussion on item 25? We have a motion and a second. Those in favor, say aye. All those opposed, motion passes. Moving on to item 26, preliminary plat review for Turnage Woods, large lot easement subdivision containing 5 lots on 27.37 acres located off Murfreesboro Road in the 5th voting district. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Staff is, the applicant is requesting deferral to the July 2024 meeting.
Thank you. Do I have a motion on item 26 deferral? I have a second. Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes for deferral. Final plat, item number 27, site plan review for Vista Creek subdivision, section 1, containing 0 lots on 2.06 acres located off Old Hillsborough Road in the 9th voting district. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, applicant is requesting deferral of the July 2024 meeting.
Thank you. Do I have a motion? I have a motion and a second for deferral. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Other business, item 28, resolution to repeal the 2021 International Energy Code and adopt the 2028 International Energy Conservation Code with the 2009 tables in accordance with Rule 780.0223.02. Staff.
Yeah, let me address this real quickly, and then Mr. McMillan can fill in any gaps. So back about a year ago, in June of last year, the County Commission adopted the 2021 Energy Code. However, later that year, the state passed a statute essentially saying that local jurisdictions cannot be more stringent than the state, and the state operates under the 2018 Energy Code. And therefore, the Department of Commerce and Insurance has indicated that Williamson County should go back and adopt the 2018 code. So that's what this is all about. Mr. McMillan is the building official, and he can add to that if there's a need.
Yes, sir. This is, Mr. Chairman, this is a step backwards if you think about it. Mm-hmm. Because the state has a law that we cannot be more than 6 years past the current adopted code. Well, this 2018, this is 2024, so we're going to be in violation. But the state said that we were non-compliant because we didn't have the 2018 adopted. So in 3 more years, we're probably going to have to adopt the 2018 again because this is the home builders lobby. Okay, and they reached an agreement with the home builders, and what it basically does is the R values went up, and so to get R30 in a wall, you have to build a 2x6 exterior wall. Well, under these conditions, you can still stick with R19, which is 2-4 exterior walls. So this is just a just an item we had an audit and were deficient in. So, I mean, we have no choice in this, really.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? Do I have a motion for item 28?
Move for approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Item number 29 was withdrawn. Moving on to item 30, variance request, Joe Hughes Property Subdivision, Lot 1, located on Les Hughes Road in the 1st voting district. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This property is located on Les Hughes Road. It is 3.88 acres in size. This is a one-lot subdivision, and this is also a staff-level minor revision plat was submitted, and this was to adjust the required building envelope. During the review process, it was noted that the building envelope had not been separated by 200 feet from the neighboring dwelling. As you can see here on the screen, the red arrow points toward the nearest dwelling. Separation is required by Section 3.05 of the subdivision regulations since there are no fire hydrants within 500 feet of the building envelope. Because of this deficiency, staff is unable to approve the plat, and so the applicant is now requesting a variance from Section 3.05 B2B of the subdivision regulations to reduce the required separation from the 200 feet to 160 feet, and that's a 40-foot reduction. As you can see on the screen, the current building envelopes are separated by 160 feet. Included in your packets were letters from the Williamson County Fire Rescue and the City of Fairview indicating that there is sufficient adequate fire protection to the property that they can provide. And based upon these letters that you have, staff does support the variance request and recommends approval.
Thank you. Any questions?
Motion to approve.
Sorry, Mr. Crohan.
I've got a question on this. Staff has looked at this, and the building envelope, there's no way that the building envelope can be adjusted. The variance wouldn't be necessary. That's the first question. And the second one is, according to the letter we got from the fire department or whatever, it's 156 feet to the nearest house.
So I'll answer the second part of it, and then I'll allow Mr. Hughes to answer the first part as to the building envelope request. So the 160 feet is based upon what the surveyor indicated to us.
Okay.
So based on that, that's where we're getting the 160 feet from for the variance request.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you. I am Jeff Hughes. I am representing my father, Joe Hughes, and my sister, Jan Mayberry. And the reason we went this route is because we couldn't build a home. My sister's trying to build a home by my father as he ages, and we couldn't do that because the total acreage was 6.1 acres. Staff recommended that we go through a family subdivision revision, which is what we did. And once we had everything in place and we had the plans for the house, we realized that we could not build the house any further south on the building envelope. It needed to be, we had basically estimated a variance of 50 feet, and by my measurements, that is approximately 43 feet is what we were asking a variance, if you go corner of the house to corner of the house. So we reached out to the Williamson County Fire and Rescue Department. I talked to Robert Galapi, and I also talked to Scott Hughes, the fire chief in Fairview, and both of them assured me that this would not be an issue from the standpoint of fire spreading as a result of this variance that we're requesting tonight.
Staff, correct me on the backside, that is the septic area? Is that what that is?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
That is the septic.
Mm-hmm. And my right of this plat, that is the existing property line. So to the right of what's shown on the screen, y'all don't own, is that correct?
That's correct. We do not own that.
Okay. Any other questions? Do I have a motion? I had a motion. Do I have a second? Second. Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hearing no further business, do I have a motion for adjournment?
Motion.
Thank you. Third. Ooh, that's a long one.